Hello, fellow bugs. Welcome to Purple Titk, in a series about lessons learned in the journey of my project car Miata, specifically what to and not to do. This series starts with me having no knowledge of cars or working on them, to eventually building race engines, custom wiring harnesses, doing engine swaps, and even doing a rebuild title process on this car and others. For more details on what I have done and learned since, smash that bell, subscribe, eat some grass, like, and comment. Let me know what you would like to see more of. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy.
In this episode, Purple Titk goes from not knowing about cars to getting a Miata unexpectedly to fixing it up and doing initial restoration.
The story begins with I wanting to get into cars. So I wanted a project car, and ultimately I was looking into Miatas because they matched what I wanted. I wanted a convertible, I wanted a small car, a coupe, rear-wheel drive, and so on. And I didn't know anything about cars, so I dove in and I was looking into them, and then eventually I kind of stopped because I decided to continue focusing in school and other things. But my dad went ahead and ordered it. Like, he won an auction for it, and I had to pay for it, and now I have a Miata since then. So that's kind of how it landed in my hands. And these are pictures from the auction yard. Here's kind of what it looks like in the front. Back, it was pretty beat up, had some rust. The top was broken as usual. It was rear-ended, the interior was beat. You can see how those seats looked. But it was pretty clean, mostly intact together. There was mold in the trunk too. So after that, and here's more pictures when it was first there. This is in the shipping process when it's leaving the yard. See more pictures from the outside, really clean. It had the NB wheels, and the mirror bolts were rusted off, so the mirror was hanging. And the windows came tinted too. And when I did get it, and this is the day that I got it in my house finally, I found cigarettes inside, and it smelled like cigarettes. Engine bay was okay, it was a little dirty, rust here and there, oil. You can see a closer picture of the mirror there hanging, and a medium closer view of kind of where the nuts rusted. And I have fixed this, and I know how to fix it, and that's another video that I could show because I know it's a common issue in the Miatas. And one of the tail lights was busted. There's another picture of the seat fully destroyed. This is when I first got the mirror back on. Yeah, I went ahead, I drilled it out through the inside. I put these long bolts through the inside of the door. It's really tight space, and also surprisingly, the doors were already tarred with the material for dampening. But these bolts ended up working perfectly, held the light, and I silicone sealed it so they wouldn't continue rusting and stuff. And this is what the front looked like. It had these two little lights in the bottom, as well as a really bad dial bar. But luckily the rest of it was pretty clean. I gave it a clean, and the paint was in good condition. And here it is next to my daily driver. So one of the first things I did was, and this is the first time I've really got an offer up and bought something like this from someone else, is I found someone selling a tail light, and very luckily I was able to go and get it, and that was the one that I needed to replace that broken one. So here's a quick picture of the old one, as well as you can kind of see how there's some misalignment back here with how, because it was rear-ended, so the trunk was caved in a little bit, as well as none of the panels back here line up that well. And we took the finished panel out and the tail lights, both of them out, because the seals were causing water to go in to the trunk. And you can see how it was caved in from this view, and the tail light in the back. Yeah, there's also minor rust in there and some of the wiring. And here, the first thing I did really before putting the tail light on was I fixed the structure of the rear. And take in mind, I've never worked on a car before, so I ended up going to Harbor Freight and I bought this small hydraulic tool, which it just has a hydraulic cylinder and it just pushes outwards, right? So what I did is I set it against some wood inside and I was able to push out the whole finish panel assembly and the structure outwards and fix it so it all aligns perfectly again. And here's a quick video of kind of what it would look like as it's pushing it out. And I did a really good job at getting it all squared away, as we can see in this picture with the alignment afterwards. And then these are the old speakers inside the car. There were just some really broken old Pioneers that were for some reason screwed right onto the cardboard and leather panel, the interior panel. You can see kind of how it looks like here. And I ended up replacing it with this mesh as well as some high quality speakers inside. This is the first shift knob I put on it, just because the old one, really from the auction yard, it comes with pictures of like that random AutoZone special one. But I ended up taking that one off and I got this cheap one that I really like the feel of. And that's a old picture of the Pioneer that was included in it, which worked fine. And a minor issue that I had on the door, the driver door, was there was this rust spot. And I tried to fix it. I sanded it down. I put some Bondo, as well as these random rust holes, and maybe someone drilled a hole through the what's it called, the quarter panel. So I went ahead and I filled those too, and you know, at first I put a CERN Switzerland sticker over it. So for the gaskets for the taillights, since the old ones look like this, which this is a very common fault that causes the water to go inside the vehicle, I went ahead and got some foam and I traced them out and I was able to make them, and I do have the templates with me. And they worked really well for a long time until I made some later modifications, which you will see. And here's a picture of it in the garage. One of the first times in the garage after I made some space for it. So then I did the iron paint remover, where I sprayed this purple spray all over the car, and where it turns purple anytime there's like an iron or metal particle on it, and it pretty much fixed the paint a lot more and it made the car look a lot better. And here's the old spare. I cleaned it off, painted it. The old part of the trunk where it was all rusted, went ahead, sanded it all down, did rust protection and paint on it. Same thing with the wipers. And as you can see, these are all kind of the minor, you know, gotta fix her up type of mods in the beginning. This was the solution for the exhaust that the previous owner had done, and I remember the first year of owning this car, I would just constantly complain about what the previous owner did, because it took a long time to kind of undo all the stuff that he did. So in this one here, we have this random AutoZone put together muffler and an exhaust system with the flex tubing that just had exhaust leaks everywhere, and it was held up with like coat hangers and wood and stuff. And then I replaced it with a cheap Manzo exhaust, and I have videos on that. I've modified it too. I've done a lot to it, and it's kind of what it sounds like. Yeah, that's when I first installed it. Very ricer, I know. Here is kind of like one of the parts. First, jumping into removing body panels. You know, besides what I did for the rear, I haven't really dived this deep, and I did a lot of research, and eventually got the bumper and the fenders and hood off, and got to work and cleaning this up as much as possible. You know, just basically based on YouTube and whatever I could find on forums. I had a valve cover leak, and I remember being quoted so much, I figured, okay, I'm gonna try this myself. So I took the valve cover off, I watched YouTube videos, I sanded it down with the Dremel and the wire brush and stuff, and then same thing with the exhaust heat shield. I painted them this matte black, and eventually this is what it looked like. It looked a lot cleaner now, though. The engine bay was looking a lot more put together. And then the seats, okay, this one was a big one that I wanted to really tackle because I didn't like exactly how they looked. So I went ahead and I watched a bunch of videos and a bunch of forums, and I placed an order on a seat cover kit from Sierra Auto Tops. Appreciate you guys tuning in. I will catch you in the next episode.
To recap, Purple Titk goes from not knowing about cars to getting a Miata unexpectedly to fixing it up and doing initial restoration. Next episode will continue the restoration process and the start of the modification journey.